Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Last Night in Soho, and this is a new horror film from Edgar Wright, who obviously has had a wonderful career with his Cornetto trilogy, Baby Driver, Scott Pilgrim, and now Last Night in Soho, which focuses on Ellie, played by Thomasin McKenzie, who goes off to fashion school in London. She's obsessed with the 1960s era of London and the Soho district, and so excited to be a part of this life. And, you know, things are off to a rocky start. And she gets bullied by all the catty young women in her fashion program, and she winds up finding this old house with this old room, and everything just feels right, and she winds up getting this room, and then all of a sudden when she falls asleep, she gets whisked away to this life of Sandy, played by Anya Taylor-Joy, who lives in 1960s London. You know, Thunderball is playing in theaters, and Sandy wants to be a singer, and at night, Ellie is whisked away into her life as she's connecting with Jack, played by Matt Smith, and all along the way, back in modern times, things are starting to get strained and horrifying. She starts to be haunted by these dreams and trying to process those things, making a connection with a young man in her program, and trying to hide things from her landlady, played by Diana Rigg, in her last movie role. And there's a mysterious gray-haired gentleman, played by Terrence Stamp, that keeps showing up at the pub that Ellie works at. And how are they all connected? Because this is a hot mess of a movie. So here's the thing. This has so much style and so much personality. Edgar Wright is a fantastic director. The visuals are striking and haunting. There's creepy ghost figures that keep popping up throughout the film. The striking different kinds of visuals, like reflections, and how they cut in between Thomasin McKenzie and Anya Taylor-Joy in different sequences. All use of reflections and mirrors, use of reflections on a knife, and all of these little odes to like giallo horror films all really comes together in this film very well. It's well directed. This is running away at a breakneck pace though, and the film's pretty sloppy. It actually starts off kind of shaky at the beginning with a lot of the dialogue and the character interactions. There's still some great Edgar Wright dialogue and some snarky comments, but like it feels a little off. Once this first dream kicks in, things start to feel smoother, but in general, the themes that it's trying to go for, like this underlying story about consent and woman's place in society and sex work and all these different kinds of things, and trying to focus on the ideas like the Me Too movement in modern times and all of these different kinds of things, it was all whisking away here, and a lot of the themes felt very surface level. The plot and the narrative and the logic with a lot of like the horror elements felt very shaky and messy. And especially the third act feels very messy, even though it has some very interesting twists and turns in the narrative that, you know, surprised me. And I thought that was very interesting. And there's a lot of great potential in the story. It just feels like it wasn't handled with the most finesse and the most focus. It feels all over the place at times. And like by the time you get to the finale, it's just coming at you in all angles, and you're overwhelmed, and it's crazy, but the visuals keep you pulled in. The music choices in this film are so spot on, and it's Edgar Wright, so of course they are. And the personality and the acting. Thomasin McKenzie really kills it in this film. She really channels that like female horror lead of like the fear and the scaring and the paranoia, all of that stuff so well. She has a wide-eyed, naive look to her as well at the beginning of the film. Anya Taylor-Joy, in the parts that she is in the film, she's surprisingly not in this as much as you might think she is, but like when she's there, she's really magnetic and impressive. Matt Smith is slimy, and Diana Rigg kills it in this final role as the landlady. And Terrence Stamp does a fine job in his role. Sam Claflin just pops up randomly for a very, very brief role in this film, which was very unexpected. But this film is very messy. It's all over the place. But there's a lot to enjoy about it. And I think the horror elements work. It is scary. It is unnerving. It's creepy. It's mysterious. There's mystery elements. The twists and turns along the way work. It's just something that, like, you have this giant hose of potential and you just let it go and it's all flipping and flying all over the place. You expect more control and precision from Edgar Wright, but he just kind of goes with the flow with this one, and it gets a little unruly at times, especially as it's trying to wrap up at the end. And also, don't know how well it handles mental health stuff. Feels a little like trying to use it as like a red herring and stuff like that, but like, that didn't sit right with me a lot of this film, because it's like a big thing of a lot of films is like, is this person crazy or there's supernatural things going on, and I don't know how well they really handled that mental health element to this. But in the end, I feel like this is a really enjoyable, pulpy kind of experience. This isn't a great film, but Edgar Wright pumps enough artistic just juices into this that it's still a tasty experience, just not something that you might have expect from Edgar Wright, because we all have very high standards for his work at this point, and this definitely is his weakest film. And I don't even love Scott Pilgrim as much. I can't stand Michael Cera in that movie. But the thing is, it's like this, I felt like, has a lot of great elements to it. It just doesn't come together to really make a great film. But those are my thoughts on Last Night in Soho. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.